Just tell me when you're ready to go, because I know it.
All right. All right, class, come in and have a seat in the library. As you come in, I'm handing you this PowerPoint packet that's going to have all my slides as well as an area for you to take notes on the side, and that's what you're going to be using today to do the notes that I'll be asking you to do. So, first things first. Oops, I'm controlling my computer, not the right one. We are going to sit down and take a moment to respond to this quick write question. So I want you to take about 5 minutes. Take a guess as to what a primary source document is. I know some of you may know this. Maybe some of you have forgotten or are unclear on the subject. So I want you to write down what you think it is. I want you to write down the difference between a primary and a secondary source. And if it's totally okay, if you're not sure, just take a guess. You're not going to be graded on this. I'm just curious to see as who knows what. So that's going to be about 5 minutes. All right, so your teacher asked me to come in today and help you locate and select primary sources that have to do with the 1920s. Why do you think that is? What are you guys reading now that has to do with the 1920s?
Great Gatsby.
That's right, The Great Gatsby. So what we're hoping that is going to happen is that we are going to look up some primary sources, and you're going to see pictures. You're really going to be immersed in the 20s, and you're going to have a better understanding of the novel. You yourselves are going to be looking at primary sources in our second class. Today what we're going to be doing is concentrating on how we're going to be examining these sources and how to cite, because your teacher mentioned that some of you need some help with citations. So we're going to go over that today. But I think it's going to be fun. So our goals today, we're going to be learning how to properly cite primary sources, as I just said. We're going to examine relevant information from primary sources in order to assess usefulness of each source. And we're going to be able to analyze U.S. documents of historical and literary significance in order to learn more about the 1920s, the period in which The Great Gatsby takes place. So, primary sources are original documents and objects that were created at the time by someone with first-hand experience. So that means the people, they experience it themselves. You're not just reading about it, you were there, okay? So, some examples of that are photographs that were taken at the time, first-hand newspaper reports, journal entries, diaries, or letters. Think like the Diary of Anne Frank, that's a first-hand source. Speeches written at the time, or autobiographies or memoirs. Secondary sources address the primary source, but were created later by someone who did not experience it firsthand or participate in the events themselves. So this can be a book about a subject that was written today, say a book about the 20s. That was, if one of us wrote a book about the 20s, that would be a secondary source. But what would we have to look at in order to write that secondary source? We would have to look at primary sources, that's right. I left this on there. Well, ignore textbooks, please. We're looking at magazines or newspaper articles that discuss ideas or analyze events, and essays or reviews. Those are secondary sources. All right, so today we're going to focus on primary source photographs and how to properly cite them. But first, let's make sure we're all on the same page and we really understand this. Let's take a look at this photograph. Do we think this is a primary source, and how can we tell? What are some clues from this website that might make us think that this is in fact a primary or a secondary source? Any ideas? We might want to look at the website itself. We can take a look at the picture. Like, where is this picture? Yep, Nina?
It's in a museum, which means it's old.
It's in a museum, which means it's old. So that gives us a pretty good idea that this is a primary source. Right. All right, so this is in a museum. So we are going to say this is a primary source.
It's also a really weird car.
It is a weird old car, right? I think it's kind of like an old truck from the mid-1920s. All right, now let's take a look at this second photograph. What do we think about this? Do we think this is a primary source? Because I bet a lot of people have come across and say, sure, that's a flapper, but is it? What do we think? What kind of clues can we look at here? I can give you some hints if we don't have anything. Liz?
It doesn't have, it says that it was 1904? It's an image that you can buy.
It's
And
an
it doesn't
image.
have a date on the page, so we don't know when it's from.
That's right. And what's the website? Is the website a museum
Shutterstock.
or a, yeah, it's Shutterstock. Shutterstock, does anyone know what that website is?
Shutterstock has photos that you can buy.
That's right. So these are photos that you can buy, and I don't know if you guys can see what it says up there.
It says retro flapper style.
Right.
Retro.
Flapper
Vintage Tony.
style.
Mm-hmm.
Old photo. Portrait in retro flapper style. So this isn't actually a primary source. This is someone today who dressed up like a flapper. And they're trying to sell this picture. But that can be kind of tricky, right? So we want to make sure that we really look at our sources. All right. So the following slides show you how to cite a photograph using MLA formatting. And you know, I'm going to go right past this slide, but it's available in your notes right here, and you're going to have to refer back to that. So I don't expect you to, memorize this. But right now, today, we're going to be looking at how to cite a photograph from a publication, like a magazine or a book, or a photograph found online. And the photograph found online is what we're really going to be focusing on, because that's where we're going to be finding most of our resources for this project. All right, so now that you've looked at those, hopefully in your packets, let's try to cite a picture together. Oh, there she is. So here's all the information that you would need in order to properly cite. The photograph is called A Flapper Girl. It was taken in 1922 by a photographer named C.W. Turner. The photograph is in the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C., and I found this photograph online. So, what is the first thing that you would add to our citation? Did anyone read the notes yet?
C.W. Turner?
Right, but would the last name go first or last?
Turner.
Turner.
C.W.
Turner, C.W. Very good. How about next? Does anyone know?
A flapper girl.
A flapper girl, very good. And then we'll go on from there. 1922, photograph, Library of Congress, Washington, D.C. So it's at the Library of Congress, and it's on the Library of Congress website. So we're using the MLA 7.
C.
Which is far more complicated than MLA 8, which I will be teaching next time, because now I know it. So, this is how we would cite a website. And again, all the information is right in your packet, so it should be pretty easy for you to figure out. All right. Now it's your turn. We are going to go on a gallery walk. I actually had these, I was looking for images on the Library of Congress website, but it's been down for the past 2 days.
Right.
I can have them to turn into you hopefully when it comes back online, but right now we're going to use our imaginations to think about these. You will see 4 images posted throughout the room. They are all from the 20s, they're all black and white photos. You may work individually or pick a partner, so that's your choice. So I want you to take a few minutes at each station to carefully inspect each picture and answer the questions on the worksheet that I handed out. Please pay attention to proper citation methods and refer back to your PowerPoint packet if necessary. So these photographs are going to be placed in a room with enough room around them so that little groups of students can gather around. We're not going to be all right next to each other. Under each picture is going to be the information that students will use to cite the work, just like the photo we just looked at, so they can look back at their PowerPoint again. All right. So I'll give students about 15 minutes to do that. And of course I will gauge how quickly or slowly they're going and adjust accordingly. So now everyone go back to your seats, and I want you to be able to share out with the class. So we're going to take about 5 minutes. We're going to share some observations that we've made about these photos. And I would like you to take a moment to check your work. So on the worksheet you were going to cite each of these photos, and I have the answers up on the board, but again I don't have the photos, but we're imagining. And then, great job everyone. So next week, we're going to be meeting in the computer lab and exploring the Library of Congress prints and photo archive. So between now and then, your teacher is also going to be assigning you an essay, and we're going to work on this with you. She'll work on this with you further next week as I assist you in finding primary sources via the website, the Library of Congress prints and photo archive. You're going to be using primary source photos to deepen your understanding of the time period in order to enhance your comprehension of the Great Gatsby and the time in which it took place. If you want to get a head start on this, you can definitely choose to browse through the Library of Congress website on your own, and I have provided the link in your PowerPoint notes. And that's it. Everyone have a great day.